The Lord be with you. A reading from the Holy Gospel according to Matthew. Jesus spoke to the crowds and to his disciples, saying, "The scribes and the Pharisees have taken their seat on the chair of Moses. Therefore do and observe all things whatsoever they tell you, but do not follow their example. For they preach, but they do not practice. They tie up heavy burdens hard to carry and lay them on people's shoulders, but they will not lift a finger to move them. All their works are performed to be seen. They widen their phylacteries and lengthen their tassels. They love places of honor at banquets, seats of honor in synagogues, greetings in marketplaces, and the salutation, 'Rabbi.' As for you, do not be called Rabbi. You have but one teacher. You are all brothers. Call no one on earth your father. You have but one Father in heaven. Do not be called master. You have but one master, Christ. The greatest among you must be your servant. Whoever exalts himself will be humbled, but whoever humbles himself will be exalted." The Gospel of the Lord. So here in Matthew 23, we hear one of the famous verses from the New Testament that sometimes is thrown at us as Catholics. Jesus says, "Call no one on earth your father. You have but one Father in heaven." Catholics, why do you call your priests? Why do you call them Father? You're breaking the laws of Jesus, right? Some people take this very seriously. Like, I introduce myself as Father Bauer sometimes to Protestant ministers, and they refuse to call me Father, right? In our day, we try to be polite about it, but it's clear that they're very uncomfortable calling somebody Father. It's because they're taking this verse very seriously. And maybe we should be doing the same as Catholics. That's the question they propose to us. Are we contradicting the laws of Jesus here? I think it's very important to, if anybody ever asks you the question, why do you call your priest Father, even though Jesus says you can't, your next question should be, well, do you hate your mother? Do you hate your father? Do you hate your brothers and sisters? Do you hate your children? Jesus says, in order to be my disciple, you must hate father, mother, brother, sister, children. He who does not hate father, mother, brother, sister, children for me is not worthy to be my disciple. So clearly, Jesus exaggerates sometimes in his ministry. So the question is, was he exaggerating when he told the disciples to call no one on earth Father? Well, we know he's exaggerating because if he wasn't exaggerating, then St. Paul and St. Peter were committing grave sins during their ministry. Many times in the New Testament, St. Paul refers to himself as a father to his disciples. In 1 Corinthians 4, he calls Timothy his son. He tells the Corinthians that he has become their father in Christ. St. Peter calls his disciple John Mark his son in the first letter of Peter, right? So clearly, Jesus was exaggerating here. He was making a point about the Pharisees' desire to be honored with names, right? Jesus doesn't want his disciples to do the same. Now, what was this seat of Moses that we also heard about in the gospel today? Jesus said, "The scribes and the Pharisees have taken their seat on the chair of Moses. Therefore, do and observe all things, whatever they tell you, but do not follow their example." What was the seat of Moses here that Jesus was speaking about? The simple answer is that we aren't totally sure what the seat of Moses was. We don't know if it was a literal seat that was in the temple or in the synagogues. But either way, we know from the context and from Jewish tradition that there was this understanding that the Pharisees had a teaching authority that was given to them by God. They had this understanding that the Pharisees, because they were the authoritative teachers of the law, that they could not err in what they taught, no matter what they lived by their example. Right? Now, what's neat about this is that in any cathedral you go to in the Catholic Church, in every sanctuary, in every cathedral where the bishop is the head priest, there's a special chair where the bishop sits. I'm assuming many of you know this. If you've ever been to an ordination of a bishop, after the bishop is ordained, he puts on his chasuble, and the first thing he does, he goes to the bishop's chair, showing that he has claimed the teaching authority of that diocese, right? And where do we get all that as Catholics? Well, it comes from the New Testament, right? This chair of Moses. It's the same way with the Pope. The Pope in his cathedral in Rome also has his own chair. And we as Catholics, we say that when the Pope speaks infallibly, he cannot err. He speaks what? Ex cathedra, from the chair. Now, guess what? In Greek, guess what the chair of Moses was called in Greek? The cathedra of Moses. Right? Where we get that verbiage from as Catholics.